Greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Dean Tenney coming to you from my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas. Let us know where you're joining us from and what series exam you are taking. If you have a question, please put it in the format of a question, SIE or exam. Let me know what exam you're taking so I can be more helpful and helping you out. So that would be the question format that would be most helpful. If you forget it, that's okay. It just helps me pick the question out of the chat. So in terms of what's going on June 12th, you're only going to need a 70% to pass the Series 65. And the content outline has changed, the test specifications, as NASA calls it. I haven't had a chance to look over those changes, but urban myth, it's not getting harder, it's getting easier. Lowering the score, there's urban myths that they're going to now make it harder. That's not true. The whole point of lowering the score is to make it easier. If you want to access myself, deantenneytutoring.setmore.com, I charge $225 an hour for tutoring. And I've tried to make that a little more accessible by doing some other things. And one of the other things I've done is offer you classes. Tomorrow we're doing a class called Types of Orders, Market Orders, Limit Orders. It's only $35. That's a very good value because that also unlocks the free office hours that I offer. We just finished a free office hour a little while earlier this afternoon. That's free. We went over balance sheets. We went over the 5% policy, talked about taxes. And to participate in that free office hour, you have to be a paid alumni, either tutoring or a class. I've also put on the schedule based on the poll on the community page, a debt securities class, April 15th. That's $50. We also do live stream overtime sessions. We're not doing one tonight, but we are doing one next Tuesday. You can find both the office hour as a replay. I just posted it to the channel. It's already up, and you could check out what we did earlier this afternoon. We also post the overtime sessions, and you can watch the replay there, or you can join us. The office hours are capped at 5 test takers, and the live stream overtime is capped at 10. That's free for everybody. You don't have to have bought a class or paid for tutoring. If you do pay for tutoring, the other thing you get is these classes become free for you. If you've purchased tutoring from me in the past, you don't have to pay the $35 or the $50. My Kaplan schedule. I do the SIE the first month of each quarter. I'll be teaching the Kaplan SIE April 10th through 12th. I'll be teaching the Kaplan Series 10 May 8th through 10th, and I'll be teaching the 66. So if you join me and you pass all those exams, you take those 3 classes, you pass them, you will have accomplished what I call the test taking registration hat trick. And I will give you, to commemorate your success, 3 successes in a row, I will give you a little tombstone with the date of your class participation and the date of your testing victories. My discount code to buy Kaplan products and services is Guru 10 at checkout. If you're new to our calls, we do a drawing at the very end for a 30-minute coaching call. It's not a floating coaching call. I don't want to have contingent liabilities to people for coaching calls. It's Friday, March 31st at 12 p.m. So if you can't attend it, you can assign it to someone else. So you can share it. By the way, look at this. How nifty. I had a tutoring syndicate, and I told them I was in the Marines, and one of them was kind enough. They pitched in for the tutoring, and then they pitched in to buy me this little Yeti thermos. How cool. The gift or gratuity rule does not apply to tutors, right? And that'll be March 31st. We can talk about whatever you want. You can be, if tutoring, I call it coaching call just to distinguish it from paid tutoring, but you can share it. You can do what you like. It's recorded. You can check that out in the replay as well from previous winners and what they decide to use their 30 minutes for it. And you have to claim that within 1 hour of the end of the live stream. Again, I don't want to have somebody 2 weeks later telling me they won the drawing and where's their coaching call. In terms of working the channel, there's over 400 videos, and you really don't want to be hunting for videos. That's like a needle in a haystack. What you should do is go to the channel, find your series SIE, for example, or Series 7. And then when you hit the button, it'll show you the playlist, and the videos are in suggested watch order. So that's the best way to do it. I would think of it as a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. I mean, it would take you literally 400 or 500 hours to watch all the videos. So pick what you think would add value for you. Plug any gaps that you may have. In terms of paid supplement, if you don't have a Kaplan Q Bank or Kaplan Quick Sheets, I highly recommend them. It's about $20. Shipping is, I think, 14, but it's a nice laminated kind of version of the highlights of your particular series. Brian Lee is not joining us tonight. He had a family obligation. I try not to interfere too much with his family stuff, but he's been kind enough. He's the test geek, and he gives us a 20% discount on his products, his teachable courses, video courses, and things. Now, I'm really excited. Brian and I have already done some podcast episodes. We're starting. It's called the Geek and the Guru podcast. You can find it on the channel. The first episode on our first series is going to be on the Series 65, and that will premiere on Wednesday, not this Wednesday, the following Wednesday. And the first episode is why people pass the 65, why they fail the 65. It's going to be a 6-episode series. We just finished up the 3rd episode today. Those will be dripping out, premiering every Wednesday. Once we get the 65 done, we'll probably do the SIE. There's also my own podcast that's on the channel that premiered today, Test Taking Tips and Tricks. And there's you can find that on the channel as well. Okay, so now those preliminaries are done. Let's check out the comments. Savannah, woohoo! You graduated all your training. I love it. I love it. I love having victorious test takers in the chat. So Savannah is there, and she said you can ask her questions as well. I don't know why you wouldn't take my word on things, but it's nice to have somebody in a similar situation who has slayed the dragons, all 3 dragons. I'm imagining, Savannah, you did your SIE, your 7 and 66, or 6, 63, 65, whatever the case is. So reach out to Savannah. And, remember, every draw is a little different. So, but I'm sure she can either confirm or deny anything that I may tell you about a particular class. Can I explain discounted cash flow, Clyde? Discounted cash flow is trying to figure out, the classic example, Clyde, of discounted cash flow is, the lottery. And so, Clyde, you win the lottery and they offer you a lump sum or they offer you a series of payments. And so what you're trying to decide, Clyde, is what is the better deal, to take the lump sum or the future series of payments. And so the math you're going to perform is called discounted cash flow. You're going to say, okay, I'm getting all these future payments. And what I'm going to do is discount that back to today and see what that number is. I'm going to have an assumed interest rate, time period. And then let's say my lump sum offer was $1 million. And I calculate that those future payments using discounted cash flow is $1.2 million. I take the payments. If I do the discounted cash flow and I determine doing the math that those payments are worth $800,000, I take the $1 million. Now, as that relates to investments, I use it for bonds, for example. And I say, okay, I got a 10-year bond. It's going to be paying me twice a year. I'm going to get 20 payments, assuming I bought it brand new in the primary market. What do I think that is worth? And then I'll say it's either a good value or not based on the math. As we apply it to stocks, we have 2 versions of discounted cash flows that applies to stocks. We have what's called the dividend discount model. So Mr. Buffett has a Bank of America stock, and what he does is say, okay, I'm getting a quarterly dividend from now and forever. What are the future quarterly dividend payments of Bank of America worth today? He does discounted cash flow, comes up with a number, and he says, okay, based on today's price of the stock, I think I'll buy some more. Or based on today's price of the stock, I don't think I'm going to buy any more. Now, in the dividend discount model, Mr. Buffett could make the assumption that that income stream could increase. Bank of America's dividend used to be 18 cents, and the board raised it to 21 cents a quarter. And that's called the dividend growth model, and that would justify a higher valuation if I'm making the assumptions the dividends will grow. P.S., you can't apply dividend growth model to a preferred stock, right? Because in a preferred stock, it is not going to change the dividend. Again, I will link in the timestamp on the replay a little video on discounted cash flow. I don't know when you're testing, Clyde, on the 65, but I told you, Brian and I are doing a podcast, and we're working on a video just on discounted cash flow, so maybe that'll find that helpful. Greetings. Yeah, well, in the money in the synonymous, I don't know. Let me see if Erica's in the chat. Erica sent me a hellacious option questions, which is no surprise. Um, yeah, I can do that. Let me hold on just a sec here. Let me boom share screen. Let me get rid of my banner. Let me get this up and running. Can you, ML99, can you see the screen? Can somebody in the chat tell me whether they can see the screen? Go on, there we go. I've been live streaming for months now, so can you see the screen? Anybody in chat? Can you see the screen? No? Yes? Okay, cool. All right, so in the money and intrinsic value are one and the same. The way I like to think about it is the contract likely to be exercised? Does it make sense? Does it make sense for somebody to exercise the contract? So let's say that it's an Apple 150 call. One of the things we want to practice is our memory aid devices. And one of our great memory devices is Call Up. Call Up. And that's a great memory aid device to remind us about break evens in call contracts, and this concept we're looking at here, which is called intrinsic value. And so you can do it from the long or the short perspective, either one. But let's say that Apple is at 154. So I'm just going to put that there. Boom. So in the money and intrinsic value are synonymous. And if this is an Apple 150 call and Apple's at 154, if you were long this, had a choice to buy at 150 with the stock at 154, this would be worth 4 points. This contract is in the money by 4 points, and that's synonymous with intrinsic value. Yeah, by the way, short perspective, by the way, it doesn't matter whether I'm asking you long or short because the relationship is what you're being asked about. You're not being asked about break even or max gain or max loss. It's just asking you what is that relationship. So if I'm short the Apple 150 call and the Apple's at 154, it's still in the money. It still has 4 points of intrinsic value. Now, when you buy or sell the option contract, it's going to be the intrinsic value plus the time value equals the premium. If you could trade options for me, I'd make you write 1,000 times. Options are a wasting asset. Time value erodes. At expiration, the contract is only worth its intrinsic value. If it has intrinsic value, the contract will be exercised. If on the third Friday of the expiration month, the expiry month, Apple's 154, this contract will be exercised. Now, you can't tell me whether that's good news or bad news because I haven't told you whether you're long or short or what the premium is, but we know it'll be exercised. 3 things can happen to this option contract. It can be traded, it can be exercised, or it can expire. So you can trade it. You can do a closing purchase or a closing sale. It can be exercised. That means, if you're short the call, you have to deliver the Apple at 150. If you're long the call, you're going to call it away. And it can expire 150 or lower. The contract has no intrinsic value. Now, we have 2 types of contracts. Call up, put down. If this is an Apple 150 put, and Apple's at 154, the contract is out of the money. It has no intrinsic value. I have entire videos on this. I have like 75 option videos. And in the timestamp, I will put that link to those videos. The first 3 videos in my playlist are must watch. The first video is called Nomenclature, Vocabulary. It's an hour and it goes over this for an hour about intrinsic value, in the money, out of the money, exercise. The second hour in that first video is about the basic option positions. The second video is stock plus options. And the third video is advanced option strategies. Now here, having a choice to sell Apple 150 with Apple 146, this put contract now is in the money. So a good mnemonic I would recommend to you is call up, put down, call up, put down. Call contracts are in the money when the market price is up from the strike price. When the market price is up from the strike price, XP means strike price. And whoop, and whoa. And puts are the opposite relationship. Put down, it's when the market price is down from the strike price. XP means strike price. So a good mnemonic is call up and put down. Now, not a big deal if you're taking an SIE or 65. It is a big deal on the 7 because a lot of times they'll say, and you close it out at intrinsic value. And if you don't know what intrinsic value is, you won't know how to close this contract out. So in that situation, it's going to be a little more of an issue. All right. So for a live stream overtime session is probably better because I could spend some more time on this. But you could also do this in a office hour, or again, I have lots of hours. There's also a class replay that you can find where I do advanced options, spreads, and straddles on the playlist, the video replay list. So lots of ways to get some additional insight on that. Okay, let's go back to the comments. Can you explain a letter of it? Well, forwards and letter of intents are entirely different things. So Clyde, futures are forward contracts for commodities. And so futures, forward contracts are used like options to either speculate or to hedge. And so, if I'm a farmer, so I'm either going to go long the futures or short the futures. Long the futures if I think the price is going up, and short the futures if I think the price is going down. So, and again, we are either speculating or we're hedging. So, I'm either speculating the price of soybeans. If I'm a speculator in soybeans, I would short the soybean futures if I thought it was going down. And forward means for future delivery. That's what it means. We're doing business based on a future price of soybeans. And if I think soybeans are going up, I'd go long the futures on soybeans. And then again, it would depend if I'm hedging. What I would do is do something in the futures or forwards market today that I'm going to do in the cash market later on. So for example, if I'm a soybean farmer in Iowa and I have soybeans in the field that I haven't harvested, I'm afraid the price is going to go down. So what I'm going to do is short the soybean futures and hope that I make up in that futures position what I'm going to lose in what's called the cash or spot market. If on the other hand, I'm a Kiko man and I make soy sauce, I'm worried about the price of soybeans going up because that's the input to make my soybeans. And so again, I would go long the futures. A letter of intent is very testable on all exams, and that's where you are getting a quantity discount from the mutual fund in advance. So I say, Clyde, we have a quantity discount available if you invest $100,000 or more. And you say, well, Dean, I don't have $100,000. All I have is $80,000. And I say, well, let's sign a letter of intent and let's tell the mutual fund company that within the next 13 months, very testable, within the next 13 months, you're going to come up with another 20 grand in this example. Because if you'll sign that letter of intent, Clyde, that's non-binding on you, it's only binding on the mutual fund, you can get the reduced sales charge. And he said, well, Dean, there's no chance I'm coming up with the additional money. I said, okay, so he doesn't sign it. He says, Dean, I should have bought and signed it. I just came into some money. The letter of intent can be backdated, test question for 90 days. By the way, that letter of intent, Clyde, and mutual funds are way, way more testable than forwards and futures. Way more testable. So the letter of intent is where we get the quantity discount up front. It's good for 13 months, very testable for everyone. And it can be backdated 90 days. That backdate period is inclusive of the 13 months. So we wait 90 days, we only have, 10 months left. Well, welcome, Carrie. I like it. I even like your little thing there. It looks like you're doing some meditation. That's you test on Tuesday. You better do a lot of meditation. No, I'm teasing. But welcome to our live stream. Like I say, we do this every Tuesday, 5 p.m. It's for all the exams, FINRA, NASA exams, any exam. Bring a question, share with a friend. And as I say, sometimes we do our overtime session, not always. I love it. Get that SIE. I can't stress this enough, Carrie. It's so great to start out with your first testing victory. I say the journey of 3-0 begins with 1-0. And so, boy, you're not going to be sorry that you spent so much time studying for your SIE, because that will pay dividends on your other tests. Are you going to be doing a 7? What's going to be your next testing victory after your SIEs? Your next testing victory going to be a 6, or is it going to be a 7? By the way, if it's a 7, the reason I ask, SIEs 3-4 option questions, it's not a big deal. It's a bigger deal on the 7. If you're going on the 6, then who cares, right? Because you're not going to see options on the 6. Live streaming, this is the first one. No, this is not the first one. As I said, we've been doing this for many months. Okay. Well, that was me asking about the screen. Good. Thanks, guys, because sometimes I don't know if the screen is showing, and I go rambling on for a while, and there's no screen, and I'm watching the video replay. The other thing I would tell you on LinkedIn, particularly, thanks for joining us. We broadcast to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. And sometimes I miss in the question. And if I do, you get my apology in advance. We had somebody who asked a question, and afterwards I timestamp it for people who are watching the replay. And I didn't catch they'd asked me a question with a not in the middle. And so I was answering the question based on not having seen the not. And then I went over to LinkedIn to see the comments, and I said, oh man, that's what she was asking. Okay, my bad. So if I miss you, just put it right back into the chat, and I'll pick it up. You are welcome. You're welcome. I like it. Yeah, Lynn, that's what Brian's thing. Get the P. And so, yeah, there's nothing better. So what's your next testing victory, Lynn? Is it going to be a 63 or a 66? 63 means Lynn is just going to be an agent of a broker dealer. 66 means Lynn is going to be both the agent of a broker dealer and an investment advisor representative for an affiliated investment advisory firm. So typically people are going to get 7s, and then they're going to follow that victory up with either a 63 or a 65. Again, I'm glad you found that helpful. And again, there's a lot more on the channel. If you go in the options playlist, I have thumbnails. It says intrinsic value. I've got an entire 30-minute value. There's probably 80 option videos in there. I mean, there's lots of them. I told you the first 3 are key, but then I have what I call them carve outs. I have little 20-minute, 30-minute lectures on different aspects of options, like 30 minutes on a call spread or 30 minutes. And then the other thing I have is at the very end of that, you'll see all kinds of individual questions people send me to explain to them. So if you're using Kaplan, it's pretty easy. You send me the QID, like Erica sent me a QID. I sent her. So if you join us on the Reddits, we have a Reddit community. It's called R Series 7. And Erica had sent me a question she wanted help with, and I put it in the search bar of the Reddit. And I've actually explained this 5 times over the last 2 years to people. So a lot of times, if you join our other community, Erica could have just put in there tips, and she would have seen all the comments and videos that are available on tips on the Reddit site, as well as what's available on my channel. Long story short, I already made a video on that. It's the exact question that she was asking. So there are lots of materials there. And that's where some of those option videos come from, is people have a question, and, rather than send you an email, I just hit the record button. I record a little video explanation, and then I put it up on the channel. 2 hours ago, Mark, kudos. So Mark is in the house, victorious test taker, willing to answer questions you may have. Now, remember, the draw he saw may be different. I don't know, Mark, did you think you got a dream draw, or did you think you got to face a death draw? Every draw is a little different, right? I'd be interested, Mark. I usually tell people not to worry about calculating number of days of accrued interest, but I had somebody tell me they actually had to do that the other day. I was kind of surprised. I'd be interested to know if you actually had to calculate, do practical application of the number of days of accrued interest. I would be interested in knowing that. Now, we're not allowed to ask Mark, like, what was question 35? But we can say, hey, what do you think we should be better prepared for or less prepared for, that kind of thing. There you go. First question for you, Mark. How long did you study? Can I go over, certainly, the difference between covered and uncovered calls? So both of them involve a short call contract. In a short call, you shouldn't be struggling with contract specifications. You shouldn't be struggling with contract specifications. So let me try this again. Bear with me. I'm trying to get better at putting a whiteboard up on the thing, so I'm not actually as good at it as I hope to be someday. Let me get rid of my thing there. Let me get a full whiteboard. Okay. Again, can you see my whiteboard? Can you see the whiteboard? Yes, no, there's a little delay. Yes, no, whiteboard is up or not? Can you see a whiteboard or can you not see a whiteboard? Hopefully I can kill myself from the draw. Thank you. Okay, so now let me go over first part of this. Let's say I'm short one Apple 155 call. Now you should not be struggling that is an obligation to sell the Apple stock. You shouldn't be struggling that is an obligation. Looks like I got added a Z to the ticker on Apple, but so that's an obligation to sell. So there's two scenarios. One scenario, Simple Mama, is I actually own the Apple stock. So if I actually own, if I actually own the Apple stock, so I'm long 100 shares of Apple, no problem. No problem, because if I get exercised, I have the stock in my account and my broker will just deliver it. That's very testable. That's called a covered call. A covered call. I say, Simple Mama, how would you like to agree to sell high Apple stock you just bought low? So maybe we bought this Apple stock at 152. And now we're agreeing to sell it at 155. And we're going to collect that premium. We're going to collect that premium. And let's say the premium on this thing is 6. So if I put this in test phraseology, let's put this in test phraseology. A customer buys 100 shares of Apple at 152 and shorts or writes one Apple 155 call at 6. So the first thing you have to be able to do is identify that as a covered call. Because if you don't identify it as a covered call, you're going to be all messed up. This does not have unlimited risk. The biggest test distinction is a covered call does not have unlimited risk because you actually own the stock. And if I'm a margin clerk, I'm just going to deliver it. But if you don't own the stock, this is called a naked, boy, if you're outside the privacy of your own home, naked, are good things or bad things likely to happen? Bad things. In fact, somebody might say, why don't you cover yourself? Why don't you cover yourself? Now, this is an entirely different proposition. If we agree to sell Apple that we don't own, that is a naked call, and that has unlimited risk because you're going to have to go in the open market and buy the Apple to deliver at 155. The biggest thing to recognize between these two, there's more, but the biggest thing is to know that this one has limited risk and this one has unlimited risk. You need to know what exposes customers to unlimited risk. If you come into my office and you say, Dean, I want to lose so much money that you can't tell me how much in advance. I say, well, there's not many things that will do that. But one thing that will do that, Simple Mama, is by agreeing to sell stock you don't own. If you sell a call contract, and by the way, you need to get good contract specifications. What I mean by that is you should be able to look at that and know that's an obligation to sell the stock. And that will do that. Anybody know what else would expose a customer to unlimited risk besides a naked call? Short the stock. What you might want to do, Simple Mama, is buy a higher strike call. You might want to do a credit call spread. That's a lot smarter thing to do, right? So either do a covered call or credit call spread because that would not expose you to unlimited risk. Okay, let me see now if I can get out of that. And let's go back here. Boom. And let me go back now to comments. Okay, next one. So Mark is saying you work full time. Listen, I have a podcast about building a study plan. And Mark, that's one of the first things is you got to, what kind of a test taker are you, a part-time or full-time? And Mark, I'll tell you what, I know some people, I had a single mom who, had to study before the kids went off to school. I mean, oh my God, and then I get some people who whine and they're getting 4 months with pay to do nothing but study and pass the tests. And I'm like, I lose a little empathy for them when there are people who are really trying to struggle to get this done. I like it. 2 hours. You can't actually study this 8 hours a day. So what I suggest is a study block. So I call that Mark a study block. It looks like Mark had a 2 hour study block each morning. And I hope Mark didn't spend 6 hours straight on Saturday, Sunday. I would have broken that up into what I would call 4 study blocks of an hour and a half apiece. And so I would suggest, if I were your accountability partner, if you're going to do 6 hours on Saturday, let's do an hour and a half, take a 30-minute break, do another hour and a half, take a 30-minute break, do another hour and a half, take a 30-minute break, and do another hour and a half. That's that 6 hours. The other thing I would recommend as an accountability partner is changing your activity on Saturday. So if you're doing reading in the first study block, then rotate and do some questions, and then, rotate and do watch a video. So if you rotate the activity, and then I would also rotate the subject area. So if I did margin for the first block, I wouldn't do it in the second block. I'd do option. I'd do something different. If you rotate activity and you rotate subject area, your brain will stay a little fresher as you try and get that 6 hours done on Saturday and Sunday. I think, Mark, by the way, that's sufficient. I mean, I would be a little hesitant to tell somebody to do any more than 6, because at some point your brain just kind of turns into mush, and you're not really studying at any point anymore. You're just, thinking about not passing the exam and, what's going to happen. And so, but I think you should definitely program that. Some of the test prep vendors actually have study calendars that will help you kind of plug in your activities as it relates to getting this done. The other thing is I get aggravated, Mark, when people don't have a test date. So, you can't really study unless you have a test date. And so I would tell people to get their test date and then reverse engineer how many hours they're going to spend, whether it's 80 hours, 120 hours. And then you can always adjust based on your first week of studying, whether that's going to be enough or not be enough. So anyways, kudos, Marks. Thanks so much for paying it forward and showing up into the live stream. I really appreciate it. You're always welcome back as a victorious test taker, because it's really great for morale. So I just love it. Same thing on the YouTube channel. I always love it when somebody reads the video descriptions and people are posting their testing victories, and then people, it helps. It helps. So I'd say, oh man, I'm just reading all these video descriptions. Now we get some people who post their defeat, their initial misfortune, and that's cool too. The initial misfortune, as long as you overcome it, and then we have people who say, hey, this is my second time I got it done. So. Yeah, he does, Lynn. It's a video course on Teachable. Let me just put Brian's contact information up there. And so here is Brian's. There's where you can find all Brian's stuff. And he does indeed have 66 videos. We get a 20% discount. So his paid supplement comes in at about $100, but that's a whole video 66 class, as well as his class notes. And I think the best practice final on the street in terms of how it reflects on the actual exam. So if you just want that practice exam, you can get that for $20, and that's the PDF, and you can get it for free by watching me do it on the channel. So, Brian's given me permission to put his stuff up on the channel and allow people to have access to it there as well. Let me get rid of that. Let's see. I'm sorry. I get lost in the comments. There we go. There we go. Okay, Clyde, you're welcome. Series 7, thank you. It's helpful if I know what exam you are. Yeah, the only thing, Carrie, I would have a problem if I had put that picture, because if you were ever not in that good place, people would say, well, wait a minute. So there you go. Thank you, Mark. The explication videos I think are very helpful, but I don't know if you mean the content outline. On the Series 7 playlist on my channel, I have the playlist in suggested watch order. And the first playlist for Series 7 is an explication of the content outline, where I literally go through the Series 7 content outline and tell you what is testable. It's not a lecture. It's like, okay, here's what you need to know. And if I can only watch, like I say, you can't watch all the videos. There's like 500 hours of videos, but that's why I have that playlist first. And I would highly recommend you print the PDF of the content outline if you're taking a FINRA exam, or excuse me, the test specifications if you're taking a NASA exam. And I would have that PDF next to me every time I'm studying, just to kind of check it as a kind of an intellectual inventory about whether it's on the test. So, for example, sometimes people say, well, how do you know that's not on the test? I said, well, if it's not in the test specifications of NASA or the content outline from FINRA, they're not allowed to ask it. They're not allowed to just randomly make up things to test you on. So there you go. There you go. Oh, well, thank you so much. Carrie, the channel, I started the channel 2 years ago during the pandemic to have a direct connection with test takers, not dependent on their test prep vendor. Because, who knows? You might be using Kaplan or Pass Perfect or STC. And I had no idea what to expect in terms of, getting involved in social media. I never, Carrie, had haters until I got on social media. Some of them refer to me as the old dude. I've embraced it. I'm the old dude. Anyways, so that was a very much a learning experience for me as I started the channel and started posting some videos. And to be honest with you, I do longer videos because I'm an old-fashioned stand and deliver kind of professor guy. So, I've had adult learning specialists tell me the video should be like 5 to 10 minutes because of attention span. But anyways, long story short, I've been surprised. We just crossed 15,000 subscribers. We have over 1,700,000 views. It's just incredible. And I had zero expectation that would be the case. And Carrie, I would tell you that one thing I'm proudest about is that growth is coming from testing victories and referrals like yours. So, I always said, even before I was doing YouTube, I was a senior management member of a test prep company for many years. And, I said our business is pretty easy. People pass, they're happy. And if they don't pass, they're not happy. So focus on the big things. And, I don't do any SEO or any of that stuff. I just try and make videos and help people pass their exam. That seems to be working pretty good. Yeah, way to go, Mark. I tell you, that's great. I'm not sure what the half and half is. Yeah, like I say, love the chat. You did chat. If you put a Q, then I know you're just chatting amongst each other. And I just told somebody today that, part of the live streams and the office hours and the live stream overtime is to have a sense of community. Our Reddits, we have R Series 7 for the SIE. And for Series 7, we have R Series 66. That's our Reddit community for 63, 65, 66. We have R24 for 9, 10s, and 24s. And, I post kind of back and forth because they're sister communities. And somebody said, oh, guys, spamming. I go, no, I'm the one who started the damn thing. And it's a sister community. And, whether it's this live stream or it's the Reddit or it's, coming to an office hour, that sense of camaraderie that you're not alone, I think is very valuable. This is really hard to do if you're sitting at your kitchen table by yourself trying to study. Again, kudos to Mark. I don't know where he was in the morning, but I doubt, maybe Starbucks. I don't know, but it probably wasn't a, fellow cohort. In the old days, there'd be 15 to 20 of us and we'd be starting our testing journey together. And so, if you need to be bucked up and get some support, that's part of the function as well of our Tuesday live streams and the other things we do community wise. So, love it. Love it. That Mark is right on. So the 3 styles of questions you get on Series 7 or any exam are recognition, practical application, and judgment. Those are the 3 types of questions you get. Now, if you're taking the SIE, the vast majority of the SIE is simply recognition. And then there's some practical application, like can you adjust for a stock split, for example, or can you calculate current yield? On the Series 7, you get all 3 of those questions. You get recognition, practical application, and judgment. The hardest questions are judgment questions, and suitability questions are more often than not judgment questions where you got to go, oh, I don't know, do I put that in there? And that's that investment vehicle stuff, right? So recognizing, for example, the partnerships are clearly unsuitable for somebody who needs liquidity. IMARC suggests that what people do is try and learn the products, the investment vehicles very well. Because if you learn those investment vehicles very well, then it's easier to answer questions about what it would be suitable or not suitable for. So options, yeah, I say 20. Some people say give or take. I say 20 plus or minus 5. Brian thinks there's less than I do, but I think you need to be prepared to do options. And same thing. So, for example, earlier in our time together, I put up a whiteboard and I answered Simple Mama's question about the difference about a covered call and an uncovered call. But suitability, Simple Mama, would mean to know that a covered call test question is used to generate additional income, right? So that's a suitability question about covered calls are used to generate additional income. That naked call is just stupid and basically don't do it. It's not suitable for really anybody. As we said there, you'd want to do a credit call spread or you'd want to do something different than that, right? So that would be pure speculation. I kind of joke, a Simple Mom, a long call sounds pretty good. How with limited risk, the premium, would you like unlimited reward? That sounds pretty good. The opposite of that is how with limited reward, would you like unlimited risk? So that naked or uncovered call is like picking up nickels in front of a bulldozer. It's just not a good risk reward trade-off in any kind of a sense, right? So, buying a protective put, for example, selling a put as an alternative to a limit order. That's where the options become suitability questions. And then math on bonds, you definitely got to be able to do current yield for sure. And you don't want to give up practical application questions because whether you love math or hate math, statistically, the best test takers are people who love math or hate math. If you're apathetic about math, you're statistically not a good test taker. Brian and I were just talking earlier. We were doing the third episode of that podcast, and he is a serious math guy. He loves math. I don't. He thinks it's really fun that 2 + 2 is always 4. I find that incredibly boring. I like to talk to them about things that have no right answer, like what is beauty? We have a couple pictures of beer. We get closer to what it's not. That drives math people nuts. But as a test taker, you can't be getting out math questions because there's no interpretation of the right answer, right? When Mark was encountering those math questions, there is a answer and it's not up for interpretation. So, doing current yield, for example, or break evens, or Mark, have a video. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. I'll link it here at 4159. All the math necessary to pass the Series 7. And every once in a while, somebody will send me a nasty comment and say, well, you don't have this in there. I said, well, I don't, because it doesn't say all the math on the 7. It says all the math necessary. And there's some math that isn't necessary, particularly if you're using a test prep vendor. Oh my God, somebody will send me something from Past Perfect. I'll go, oh my God, it's crazy. I don't even think if I can answer it. Face a death draw. There you go. Yeah, my margin video, I think, is all you need. I cover margin, Lynn, in a couple different places. I cover it in the explication of the content outline. I have a standalone margin lecture, and I will link it for those who are interested here. And then I have a margin class replay. So if you go to the replay list, there's actually a margin class that I taught. And, when you don't, like for tomorrow, we're doing that $35 type of order class. If you miss it, it's not a problem because then I make it available as a video replay. And so, yeah, I'm pretty proud of my margin lecture. I think it's pretty damn good. There's only 3 or 4 margin questions. Oh, 5. That's Len. So that's a tough one. I would say that the thing about margin is kind of like we talked about with options. Assuming you know the classical margin equation, long and short, then you want margin questions because, again, it's no interpretation of what the answer is. You can also watch me do some margin questions that people have submitted again. If you go to the replays of practice, there's another practice or another playlist called Series 7 Practice Test and Questions. And I have 9 practice tests there. And then after the practice tests are all the individual questions people have asked me about margin. There's probably 15 different margin questions where you can watch me on a whiteboard, kind of set it up and then market to market and answer whatever questions they're asking. So I guess that's me on the whiteboard asking if you can see it. 2 times. Wow. Wow. Was that the content outline, Mark? Are those the explication videos or was it the practice tests? Explication, by the way, just means more than going over the questions with you. What I mean by that, and when I say I explicate questions or I explicate a practice exam, what that means is not only do I talk about why the right answer is right, we then riff on why the wrong answers are wrong and what they would have been the right answers to. Distractors are the technical name for wrong answers. So if you're a test writer, the distractors, and some of the distractors can be pretty powerful. So a little more than explaining the question is what I consider an explication to be. And so We do that for questions. We do it for practice tests. We do it quite a few different places and on the channel. Okay, cool. I get nervous because sometimes the live stream doesn't lend itself well to doing, a lecture. So I have to be a little more editorial control. That's why reason, Simple Mama, I added, if you go to deantenneytutoringsetmore.com, that's why I added that overtime live stream. And you can book that. And then, like in your question, then what I do is I, get a whiteboard. I do the full blown kind of discussion about that. Let me just see if I have that somewhere for you. There you go. So if you go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com, there's tutoring, but the /classes, and you'll see there's a free live stream overtime. And next Tuesday, when we're done with this live stream, we take a 15-minute break, and then I show back up in a Zoom session with a whiteboard, and we go over whatever people want to talk about. So what I probably would have done if there was one tonight, Simple Mama, is I would have actually, said the customer buys it, what's the gain, what's the loss, what's the break even. We would have done the full blown thing. And then if you buy the class, as I said, then you qualify for the free office hours. The office hours are only for people who have actually spent some money. All right, let's see where we're at. I love it, Colby. Love it. First testing victory. I think that first testing victory is so important, man. Start out with a P, as Lynn, as Brian says, right? Get that first P, man. Feeling good. So what's your next testing victory, Colby, going to be? Is it going to be a 6 top off or a 7 top off? What's your next one? I love it. I love it. The other thing I love, Colby, is we're finding a lot more people now are joining us in the first leg of their testing journey. So when I started the channel, most of our viewers were Series 7 viewers. But now we're about the two biggest things that people are using the channel for are SIE, which I love because, if I can help you on that first leg of the journey, then it's easier to help you on that second leg of your testing journey. And that's now close to being equal about SIE and Series 7. We have other things we help people with, 66 and 65 and, 9s and 10s and 24s. We have, playlists for all the various series. But I always really am happy about finding people on that first leg of their testing journey. By the way, if you don't have your SIEs, I mentioned I'm going to be teaching the Kaplan SIE class, 3-day class in April. Well, thank you so much. I another thing that makes me a little different, I think. I mean, I'm not an askhole, ASKHOLE. I know when I watch YouTube, I watch YouTube. I use YouTube a lot, and I kind of get a little aggravated when every 15 minutes somebody smash the like button, subscribe, hit your bell. So I'm probably guilty of that every now and again, but I appreciate you subscribing, and we do pretty well without having people have to tell you to do that. I'm hoping if you do like it and it adds some value to your life that you will do that. I also think, Surodeep, that one of my favorite things I tell people is I come into your life for a reason and a season. The reason is to pass your exams, and the season is how long that takes you. So, Surodeep, I also have people who tell me they're unsubscribing because they've completed their testing journey, which I always think is a great way to lose a subscriber. So I'm not upset about it at all. I think, well, if I'm going to lose a subscriber, and to be honest with you, a subscriber count isn't important to Google as the view count is. But, it's a certain, I told you, we just passed like 15,200, which is crazy. We're picking up like 400 subscribers a week, which is just nuts. I wouldn't even think there's that many test takers out there. So crazy. So thank you so much. I had a young man who told me that he doesn't like watching the advertising. And I said, if you pay $20 a month, I don't either. So I pay Google $20 a month not to watch the commercials. And I said, so if it takes you 4 months, let's say you're going to be with me 4 months, you could pay $20, $80, and you won't have to watch the videos. I didn't mention that, I charge $225 an hour for tutoring. So I think giving you the videos for free is, pretty good value. Anyways, he said, and I told him that, he goes, well, I'll suffer. I said, well, listen, young man, I got to tell you something. If in your world, suffering is having to watch advertisements on Google, you're pretty blessed, because I would call that a shame pain problem for a lot of people. Their suffering is real. It's not watching advertisements on Google. There you go. No, they're different. The dragons, David. So I joke that, sometimes I'll say, oh, you slayed your Series 7 dragon. And people, yeah, now I'm going to go slay that 66 dragon. I go, well, David, be careful. Those dragons are different. Right? So, you're walking into a different cave with a different dragon. Now, the 66, about half of it is law and registrations, and the other half is investments. And I'm glad, though, David, you've recognized that, because I think a lot of people miss the mark on the 66 because they suffer a little hubris. They pass their 7 and they go, they're feeling really good. And they go, I already got the investments down. I just need to get that registration stuff down. And there are some stuff on the 66 content wise, even on the investment side, that you don't get on the 7. It gets a little deeper into balance sheets and modern portfolio theory and, negative correlation and that kind of thing. So, but I'm glad you recognized that before it was too late, right? So there you go. Oh my God, Evan, geez. 4, registered option principle, muni securities principle. Wow. I do have a couple videos, not many, in that series 4 playlist. Well, how are you going to knock those out? Did you already got your 24? That's good, but that's a challenge. I'm just looking at your order here. I'll tell you a story about me suffering hubris. So when I went to take my 53, so remember this story. The MSRB has A rules, administrative rules, D rules, definitional rules, and G rules, general rules. And they get the enjoyment of they can pass rules, but we deny them the enjoyment of enforcement. So when I was taking my 53, I sent away for a study prep book, and they sent me a little flaky book for the 53. And I said, well, flaky book, flaky test, and boy, was I wrong. I mean, that was an exam. Those days we gave scores, and that's the exam I came closest to failing. I was using all my test taking tips and tricks, and man, I pulled that out with the perfect score. In those days, the pass was 72, and I got a 72. Woohoo! But whoa, man, that was so much minutia. So I think personally, when people ask me what is the most difficult exam, I sometimes say the 53 because of just the level of minutia. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that minutia. SIE, there you go. Fresh out of school, love it. I love it. If you're poor and you deserve to be rich, our industry is for you. So I wish more people would come into our industry. I get a little perturbed when people complain about our industry. I mean, every industry has its bad apples, but I think it's a huge turn on to help people accomplish financial freedom, even if you're in the support role in doing that. I mean, I think it was so cool when I was a practitioner to be able to call and say, hey, we've reached our financial destination. You now have enough money working for you that you don't need to work for your money anymore. Instead of calling in sick, you can call in rich. You can tell your employer that you have an eye problem. And they say, what's wrong with your eye? You say, I can't see coming to work. My financial professional told me that I've arrived at my financial destination. So I'm glad. The younger you start, by the way, the more you can accomplish in our business. But our business, everybody, have people doing lateral transfers. I had a guy today. He's a retired military guy, and I think he's going to do very well because, those skills translate. Being dedicated and disciplined and organized is not a bad thing. Content outline. There you go. Mark, think there's 2 things. If I had a limited time of study time and I had to test right away, there's 2 things I would recommend: the content outline and then the glossary. The glossary of terms. What does the vocabulary mean? Because it's kind of like learning a foreign language. And they say when you dream the foreign language, that's when you know it. So, for what it's worth, that's what I try to get a handle on. All right, Lynn, thanks so much for popping in. We love it. I so appreciate your support and paying it forward by helping some of our people that are still in their whatever leg of their journey on as you move onto your journey. And like I say, Mark, when you've completed your journey, we love to have you back. I'm going to have to come up with I think on Google, I haven't figured this out, or YouTube, I can give people badges and stuff. So I'll have to figure out how to give people badges so we can recognize people who have passed their various exams. Yeah, the USA, the NASA, North American Security Administrator, they're attorneys. And so they write in legalese. The grammar is atrocious. And I always joke because, those exams are much easier once you can figure out what you're being asked. But it is a huge challenge to figure out what you're being asked. I had a student who said, Dean, I think I'm halfway there. And I go, what do you mean? They go, well, I know what I'm being asked, but now I don't know what the answers being offered to me are. I said, well, then, okay, that's the other half we got to put together, right? That you can read the question, kind of determine what the member of the cast you're being asked about. I think of it as a cast of characters. And then can you figure out what those answers are? So Yeah, so I do both. I try and mix it up. So we have some longer videos and we have some shorter videos. Now, in my world, a shorter videos like 15 minutes. I do have some shorts, but I try to do narrative lectures. I figure Simple Mama, there's a pause button. So you don't have to watch it straight through. You can hit the pause button, go grab a bite to eat or a cocktail or whatever and come on back. Sometimes people ask me, well, why do you do the premieres or why do you do the classes if you're gonna make them available as video replays? And one of the answers I say, Simple Mama, is for like tomorrow's class, it's less likely you're going to be distracted if you're in a class for an hour than it is while you're watching a video of that, right? There's naturally the people with interruptions and stuff like that. So that's one answer to that. And then again, the narrative lectures, again, you always can hit the pause button and you can return to it at your leisure. 77, Elizabeth, is fantastic. It's right where you need to be. So I like it. Well, 80s is better, but I don't think you're at risk with a 77, particularly on Past Perfect, because Past Perfect is much more difficult than the actual exam. I would just say rinse and repeat. I like where you're at. Let's see, you're testing Saturday. This is Tuesday. So I'll Elizabeth link to my day before you test podcast episode. And I'll tell you right now, I'd be winding down your study effort on Friday. So Friday morning, do something low key. I wouldn't do practice tests, but do enough questions to keep your rhythm. And then whatever you like to do on Friday afternoon to relax, whether it's meditating or me, it's smoking a Cuban cigar and a scotch, whatever. To kind of just really on Friday night be thinking, putting on your game face. The most important thing is Friday night to try and get some rest because reading skills are so important. And I don't know about you, but when I'm tired, my reading skills diminish substantially. So that would be my advice to you. I think you have time. If it's Tuesday, I do think you have time to get in the 80s. I'm not worried about if you don't, but don't do too many practice exams. So you want to be able to review. So if I were your accountability partner, you really only have time to maybe do 2 or 3 more to get that 80 you're looking for, right? Because you don't want to wear yourself out. And so, you need to do one, kind of go over it, do another. So I'm thinking maybe 3, max 4 practice tests, and then you're done. And then you're done. With that score, by the way, Elizabeth, I wouldn't worry if you only did 2 more. I think you're right where you need to be. There you go, Mark. So Past Perfect. I sometimes think, Mark, that and Elizabeth, we should just start a support group for Past Perfect test takers. So I know that some of them I get into a little bit with the accountability partner sometimes because like some of them use Past Perfect and won't let their people move on. Like let's say unit 19 is margin until you get a good enough score in unit 19, you can't get to unit 20. And my God, the Past Perfect margin, it's so obtuse, that people I've actually said, listen, you need to let the people go on to unit 20 because even if there's 5 questions on margin, even that the Past Perfect is way too much. So, so I think it's called lock learning. There's a term for a progressive learning where we lock it up and don't let you move on until you can, master wherever you're at. Well, I told you where you should start in my options playlist with options. My playlists are in suggested watch order. So if you go to the options playlist on the homepage, you'll see, that says, do you need help or practice with options? And then series 7 options. And then you hit the button and 80 option videos. I think it's like 80 videos. But I told you the first 3 are key. So my videos are in suggested watch order. I don't know how I can better explain that. It gets kind of aggravated somehow. Which one should I watch? They're in suggested watch order. I told you the first 3 are must watches. It's actually 4 hours because the first one is 2 hours. The first video of 2 hours, the first hour is nomenclature, vocabulary. It's like learning a foreign language. That means, in the money, out of the money, opening purchases, closing purchases. How does the game work? I use the chess analogy. How do the pieces move around the board? The second hour of that first video is basic option strategies. The second video is stock plus options, covered calls, protective puts, short stock, long call. And then the final video, the third video, is advanced option strategies, spreads and straddles. Yeah, but there you go. That sometimes it's like a bell-shaped curve. We're getting close to our draw. Thank you. There you go. Definitely. There you go. I think that, Mark, that's the way to go, man. And you deserve to do something special for yourself. I call it, Mark, a date with myself. I'm gonna take myself out on a date and enjoy myself. Yeah, I think it's past perfect. Good. It's better to have too much than not enough. But no, I've heard no such thing, Frankie. I think that's an urban myth. I've heard nothing about the seven being changed. So be careful about urban myths. If I hear it, I'll certainly bring it up to you. But what happens is they're changing the 65, and then somehow the rumor mill gets started. I think I would have heard of that, Frankie. But I'll do some homework. If you join us next Tuesday, I'll give you an update. Yeah, at some point you should be doing cumulative practice finals, not as you begin your study effort. You should be working your way through the chapters, but at some point you should be doing cumulative practice questions. Okay, so let's go do May for me. Let's see if I missed any more questions. Okay, it looks like I'm just watching the days of videos. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, it looks like I got all the questions. So the other thing, if you're new, what we do is we end each of our sessions with a drawing for 30-minute coaching calls. Let me bring that up. And boom, let me bring this is, and let me put that back over here. And let me go get this thing. Let me get rid of this. And let me go do this, share screen. Oh, let me get rid of my banner here. Okay, so what should we in chat? Anybody want to suggest what we should use? What we're going to do is put the text, and then if you match the text, you would put the text in the chat. Anybody got any suggestions on that? You know, I know Erica always is trying to win, so let's put Erica. We'll make it Erica. Let's see if Erica can win here. All right, so if you want to participate in the chat, put Erica. And once we get the entries there, I'll hit the button and it will pick a winner for our 30-minute coaching call. Can you guys see the drawing screen? There we go. So I got 3 entries, 7 entries. One of the rules, I forget who won last time. You're not allowed to win 2 weeks in a row. So, you know. Okay, everybody else? You don't have to participate, by the way. I mean, I always have a larger number of people that are viewing than participate. It's not a problem if you want a coaching call. Now, remember, once you if you win within an hour, you got to send me the email. I'll put my email back up, deantenney@gmail.com. Say I'm the winner and claim your coaching call, and then I'll send you the Zoom invite. Caesar's saying Erica's late. Yeah, I think sometimes she just shows up at the very end to try and win the drawing. Yeah, maybe we're going to have to make a rule that you have to announce yourself. Or maybe we'll put the, I think, Caesar, what we'll do is put the secret word in the front of the broadcast and do the drawing. All right, here we go. So, boom. All right. By the way, Erica, I did do your option question you asked about, but I did it at the front end of the broadcast. And then I sent you a replay from the Reddit of the same exact question you asked me that I had made a video for earlier. So I did that first one, and I'll do the second one either by video or when I see you or put it on the page. Okay, so John, you are the winner. Congratulations. And you need to send me, let me put my contact information up there for you. So stop sharing. Let me get my banner. And so here is where you can send me to claim your prize. That's where you would claim that. So send me an email, say, hey, I'm John, I'm the winner. And then I will send you the Zoom invite for it. All right. Any other questions, last minute things? Okay. So I'll see you all guys next Tuesday. There are a couple spots for the live stream for next Tuesday. Afterwards, we're not doing a live stream overtime session tonight, but we will be doing one next Tuesday. I will be opening, if you are a paid alumni only, I'll be offering another free office hour. I'll put that up shortly. And remember, tomorrow night, if you'd like to register for our $35 types of orders, market orders, limit orders, stop orders, that's tomorrow. And you can register for that at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. If you missed that, it'll be available as a replay. And then remember, next Wednesday, we'll be dropping the first episode of the Geek and Guru podcast. So, all right, everybody. Remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch, yard by yard. Your exam is hard. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.